Okay, dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm sure all of you guys have received the best reward that Seven Knights could possibly give. That is Awaken Prime Special Heroes. Okay, at level 50 plus 10. It's not even level 40 plus 10. It's level 50 plus 10. Easily 6 dupes. Alright, 5 dupes. Okay, already given to you for free. This is really insane. But before we begin, I just want to say that you can actually use the free copy that they gave you to feed it to your lower level Prime Hero, Mythical Awakened Prime Hero, and you will still get a level 50 Mythical Awakened Prime Hero, because how it works is that they will use the level of the Transcendent material, okay, to be the base. So your base will still be the Mythical Awakened Hero, and then you will use the free level 50 copy and feed it to your Mythical Awakened Hero, which is probably level 42, 44, and it will still become level 50. So that is just a shortcut for you. So please take note of that and do not do it the other way around. We are going to talk about who you should select, and this will be pretty important for a lot of new and returning players, because I'm sure many people are attracted to this, and definitely better rewards than some other game that I'm sure most of you have been hearing about, and that is making the headlines right now. Okay, so over here we have Galidus. Galidus is actually, I'm not sure if the hero the hero statistics are still in place, so that's pretty good. You can actually check how this hero is used, but as you can see here, this is not exactly the most accurate. Seeing how Galidus is used in the arena a lot, like 39%, I really don't think that's the case, okay? So over here, I'll be showing you my own guide and my own recommendations, okay? Okay, so for Galidus, he's actually a very good multi-target DPS used in PvE right now. He is actually probably one of the best for Guild Dungeon in maps 8 and 9 especially. He can also be used in Heavenly Stairs and Brawl, okay? And he is sometimes used in Arena and Growth Dungeon as well. That really depends on where your level of build for him is. Because as a DPS, you do have to give him good weapons, well built out gear, okay? Like such as your Iron Devourer gear, which is Mythical Awakened, for him to have the most effect, okay? But I know that will take time. But having him on your side, you will probably be having a good time with a lot of stages or event dungeons even, with 3 enemies or less, okay? Because he hits like a truck, especially against multi-target enemies. Unlike your usual DPSs like Mei and Valika, who only does single target damage, Galidus does hit multi-target, so that makes him one of the more preferred DPSs for this case. Usually he is used with a magic lineup, interestingly, because his Awaken skill is extremely strong. So usually he will want the Reset Awaken skill, and if you don't have that accessory, which is not available right now, could come later on when the anniversary comes, who knows. But you can use Vanessa, Rin, Regenlave and Yuri, which is a very standard team, a support team for him. I know it's a magic based support team, but still, it gives him the most damage output. For PvP wise, he may be used in lower tier arena, definitely not in higher tier anymore, okay? So he's usually used in the universal team, but some people do use him in other teams as well because of his ability to give death immunity. So that's a pretty good passive to have, okay? And overall, I think he is more relegated to PvE right now as one of the strongest PvE DPSs in the game. So for new players, I would strongly suggest you get 1 copy of him, okay, here, because he will help you so much moving forward. Even if you don't have a Mei or a Valak, you should, even if you have Mei or Valika, sometimes, they may not have the best output. And you can even use Galidus straight away, in Heavenly Stairs to get some rewards, which are going to be really beneficial for your progress. Next up, we have Melia. She's basically the magic version of Galidus in this case right now. When she was released, she was a very strong PvP unit, okay? Because she has a lot of AoE attacks and she does huge damage and also has a chain attack possible. But right now, I think her stats aren't that great compared to the other heroes, okay, other primes. So that is why she is rarely used now in PvP and mainly in PvE right now as a multi-target DPS as well. So she's also used in pretty much the same situations as Galidus, but more so in Heavenly Stairs. But even in Heavenly Stairs, she is less used compared to another DPS called Abel, right? So I would say her utility has gone down quite a bit. Okay, but if you would really like a very strong 5-man target damage dealer, magic damage dealer, Milia is the one to go for. She can also be used in farming in World 14 because she hits 2 targets on her basic attacks, but you can also use Yonhee for that, so I won't say Milia is a must-have in this selector at all because there are other better choices, especially for new returning players. The next one we have is Phi. Phi is one of the strongest PvP units for offensive teams in the game. Okay, in case you are a new player, you are not too sure what kind of teams there are actually 3 or 4 types of teams, or rather 5 types of teams in Arena right now. There are offensive teams, magic teams, universal teams, tank teams. They don't really exist, but they can exist, okay? And there's also the death team, okay? So Phi is actually one of those heroes that is an extremely good offensive unit. Even up till today, she has been released for over a year and she has not fallen off the meta. Okay, but the thing is, for Phi, she can be gotten from the jumping check-in event at the 7-day mark. So there is still time if you really want her at level 50 here, you can get her here. Then maybe you can get someone else in that level 40 selector. Okay. So Phi, I think, is a great unit to get. She's also good in Guild Raid because she does a freeze immunity, so you can use her against the Brilliant Slaughterer. She can also be used in Spike's Castle for Castle Rush. Okay, so these are just some of the PvE usage for Phi, but overall she's only used in PvP in Arena and Guild War. Okay. For Rosie, she is actually not used that much, but you can see that her utility is far more spread out across different modes, okay? But even so, she is not exactly one of the most go-to units. Why do I say that? So for Raid, she is actually only good, or rather I would say she is preferred, okay, in level 9 teams. If below level 9, I don't really think you need her, but those of you who have trouble trying to get to level 9, trying to clear level 9 raid, I think Rosie is going to be a great addition to your team. I've made guide videos for level 9 raid, so do check them out, okay? Rosie is phenomenal there because she's actually one of those heroes that protects your entire team from taking too much damage so you won't die too fast. And you can clear the raid with Rosie because she's also a healer, okay? Apart from that, she's good in Brawl because she does buff magic attack, but only for magic allies, so that's kind of like her restrictive, a little restrictive for her. After that, we'll talk about Daya, who is kind of like a better version of Rosie as well, but also used differently, okay? For Siege Defense, she is good because she heals. For Guild Raid, she can be used in the Isabella Raid, but maybe you want to go for Daya there as well, so not exactly the best option. Same for Castle Rush. She's actually pretty good in Castle Rush because she allows you to take less damage from universal enemies. So if you are having trouble with surviving in Castle Rush, then Rosie is the one to go for. Arena and Guild War, again, she is decent, but I won't say a must-have, especially for magic teams right now because there are so many other better units. But she is definitely someone that you can use in the lower tier PvP if you are running magic teams. Okay? And then next we have Judas, who is one of the best units as well. So far, I think he's still being used to this date. He has been out for almost 10 months. 10 months is pretty long, I would say. So he is actually a damage buffer, which I still have my doubts about. Because if you look at his passive, he actually... okay, maybe not here, but if you Myth Awaken him, he does have an additional line that says increased damage dealt to enemies. So to this date, I'm still not clear if that is applicable to himself or the entire team, but many people have been using him in PvE because of that, so I have to assume that it does happen for all allies, okay? Then he is also used in Arena a lot because of his recovery nerf. He actually reduces enemy recovery rate by 80%, and that's a huge factor because there are so many healing mechanisms in PvP, and with Judas there on your side, your enemy will not be healing that much and you can have an easier time with them. So that's one benefit of him. But he has a lot of counters along the way that were released, such as Anti, such as Daya. They all counter Judas kind of, so I won't say his skills are the best, but his passive is really good. Okay, he's also And yeah, because of that passive, he is also used in Brawl and Heavenly Stairs where passives work and he doesn't need to skill. Okay? Next up we have Eve. So Eve is one of those heroes that have fallen off the PvP meta, I think, already. She can be used, she's still very strong, not gonna lie. She is still a very strong unit, and if you build her right, she can do a lot of damage. But just because there's Baal and Anti on the Magic teams right now, I think Eve has lost a spot in the top tier Magic team. So she's still very strong, but not a must-have anymore. Okay, the reason why I put Heavenly Stairs here is that because she has a chain attack, and with that, you know, if you give her PvE gear, she can still hit very hard and still kill someone and trigger the chain attack. So it's possible to use her as a magic DPS instead, just like Milia, but you know, Eve actually has less targeting, whereas Milia has 5-man, Eve doesn't have 5-man targeting, so Eve will not benefit from the Fighter Soul buffs that you are gonna get. Right? So Eve could be slightly weaker, but then again, you know, she's a magic type, so she can receive a lot of benefits from the magic buffers that you have. So yeah, give or take, Eve could be a potential PvE DPS as well. Now moving on to Anti. Anti is, without a doubt, the strongest, the best hero in 7X right now. As crazy and funky as she looks, okay, she is one of those heroes that has a very complete skill set. She can do so many things. She can provide skill nullification to your team. She provides fear immunity. She reduces enemy magic attack. She cleanses debuffs. She decreases their buff duration. Yada yada yada. So many things. Okay, she even has her own unique ability to do fixed damage. So I literally wrote here she can be used in any team, and she is still being used in any team right now in Arena. So that is how amazing she is. And if you, as a new and returning player, want to pick her, I would say go for it, because she is just so good. You have to Myth Awaken her, of course, but you know, at least you have her at level 50, because so many people have took so long to get her to level 50, and right now it's just right there in front of you. So just get one copy of her if you don't have her. Okay, next up we have Daya. So Daya is one of those prime heroes that completely wasn't used at all when she came out. Like really not used. Some teams may use her, but she hasn't seen much use at all. Okay, but I think her real role, she's an extremely good PvE support hero. Okay, she basically does the same thing as Rosie, but instead of providing more bulk for your team, Daya actually provides more damage for your team. Okay, so she not only increases magic attack, she also increases your damage dealt to universal enemies. In this game, many of the bosses are universal typing, like the ones in Raid and Castle Rush, so that is something that you definitely want to consider. Okay, she is also extremely good in Isabella Raid because she literally provides bleed and poison immunity, full immunity without any turn base, without any turn count. Okay, so with her on your team for Isabella Raid, for Guild Raid, you don't have to worry about having bleed and poison resistances, and you can actually go for full damage traits. Yeah, something like that. I know new and returning players may not understand what I'm talking about, but basically, she gives you bleed and poison immunity without conditions. Okay, so she's actually really good for this certain lady boss in Guild Raid, and that's gonna allow you to do more damage overall. And one thing about her is that as a magic buffer, she provides magic attack increase to not just magic allies, which is something that Rosie limits. Rosie only buffs magic allies, but Daya doesn't. So that is why she can be used with heavenly stats DPS such as Abel, okay, and allow him to do a lot of damage. In Arena, she can be used, okay, not gonna lie, but her damage is really weak. But her healing is amazing because every time the enemy dies, she will heal your entire team. So if you are pretty strong and you are pretty confident that 4 other heroes can take down your enemy's team, having Daya is going to allow you to have a continuous HP. I mean, almost full HP towards the end of each battle, right? So that's one thing good about her. But I think overall her damage output and stats are not that fantastic, so she's not exactly used. Okay, now we have Jack. Jack is one of those recent heroes that have, seen amazing use. He's one of the better designed recent heroes, I would say. He has 2 5-man AoE, which means he hits insanely hard, even for newer players who are just starting to build their fighters, so because immediately you get that boost. I would say Jack is definitely one of those heroes that you will want to go for if you don't have a level 50 Jack or you don't have a Jack, because level 50 Jack is so important. Okay, you only get the fighter soul boost at level 50, and that is where Jack really shines. And Jack also heals offensive teams and provide greater defense for offensive teams. For newer returning players, offensive team is probably going to be the one that you will be able to access very easily, because all the offensive heroes are currently available in selectors, so getting a Jack here is going to be huge for your team. Of course, right now, since they are literally giving you antis and Eves, I guess, you can also transit to magic teams, but I think it will be easier, to get to really have an offensive team, because right now even magic teams and universal teams, they do use Abel and Bile, which you may not get that soon. But for offensive teams, all the heroes are already in the selectors and they can be built easily. So Jack is definitely one of the best DPSs in offensive teams, and yeah, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't get him. Okay. Now for Chip, he's one of the really sad cases in contrast to Jack. Like, they are both offensive type heroes, but Chip has literally seen no usage in the entire game at all, like since the day he released. Not too sure if it's because of his stats or his damage output. It just isn't fantastic. Okay, the only thing he probably has going for him is that he is one of the main checks and counters to anti, but even so, anti is just way too strong for him, and Chip usually doesn't live that long to counter anti fully, so that's kind of the drawback for Chip. He does have reflect immunity, unconditional, okay, as long as he stays alive. So that is one of the plus points that I can see for him, and you can use him in guild raid against Galidus if you really do need. But overall, he is pretty much just a PvP hero, but even so, he isn't used in PvP. So I don't think he's one of the best picks you should think of. Okay, so this is the chart I made for the 10 heroes that you can choose. So for PvP, the best choices to go for are anti-Jack, Judas, and Phi. So depending on who you like, you can go for them. Eve is kind of in the S tier right now, okay, because of Bile. So she's not really used that much, but she's still pretty good. And definitely the A tier are those that are not seen at all. Not seen in PvP at all. Especially in the higher tier above Grand. Okay. For PvE, you see that it's the complete opposite, in fact, because those that are bad in PvP have actually very good usage in PvE. So it really depends on your focus. Of course, for newer and returning players, I would suggest you go for Galidus, Anti, and Jack. I think those three are kind of the strongest picks, okay, that you can start off the game with. Okay, Galidus, Anti, and Jack. For returning players and progressing players, I think getting a Rosie is good because you can actually push to level 9 raid much easier, and don't forget you have to do extra raids, so Rosie is gonna help a lot. And then Anti is definitely one of the picks if you don't have her or you're still building her. Getting her to level 50 ASAP is gonna be very good. And of course, I think Jack is also one of the better picks as well. Okay, so yeah, basically for PvE, I would say these are the ones that you can choose. Okay, so if you still have any questions, do leave them in the comments below. Hope this video helped, and if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD, Phoenix, Yamaki, Hibiku, and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much, and see you!